New Year always brings new laws, and 2022 does not feature your garden variety update to state statutes. Abortion laws in New Hampshire are changing in significant ways. The medical procedure is now banned here after 24 weeks of pregnancy, and doctors can be charged for performing the procedure unless the mother's life or health is in danger. Ultrasounds are also now mandatory prior to all abortions. Here this morning to discuss those changes and more are Kayla Montgomery of Planned Parenthood of Northern New England and Jason Hennessy of New Hampshire Right to Life. Thank you both for joining us. And Jason, let's start with you. New Hampshire Right to Life has fought for these kinds of changes for years. Explain why you think this is a good fit for the Granite State, which has traditionally been against involving government in these private health care decisions.
Yeah, so this is really about human rights. The Fetal Life Protection Act really enshrines into New Hampshire law what most people know, which is that it shouldn't be allowed to kill a baby even a day before it's born.
Now, Kayla, you take an opposing view. What's your perspective on these changes?
Sure. Well, first of all, good morning, and thank you for having me on today. And happy holidays to you, Adam, and Jason, and your families as well. So back in June, Governor Sununu signed the 2-year state budget, and tucked within the state budget was an abortion ban. It's the first abortion ban in modern New Hampshire history. And what is particularly cruel about this abortion ban is it has no exceptions. There is a very narrow exception for maternal health, but there's no exceptions when it comes to cases of rape or incest or even fatal fetal diagnoses. And it criminalizes doctors with jail time for simply doing their job and working with their patients to get them the health care that they need. And furthermore, this mandatory ultrasound requirement, which is required at all stages of pregnancy, it really, it's a law that dictates how providers deliver care in a way that simply isn't consistent with best medical practices. And the bottom line here is that polling shows that this really flies in the face of Granite State values, where we value privacy, particularly when it comes to reproductive freedoms.
And Jason, how do you respond to that contention that this change is just too extreme for New Hampshire?
So I guess I would call your attention to, at the time when this passed, according to Guttmacher, which is a pro-choice research group, 47 states had a law that was either similar to or even more stringent than New Hampshire's law. So in terms of protecting viable unborn babies. And so I would say that it's a very extremist view that you want to roll back the protections. It's a very extreme view to want to be able to take an unborn child's life up to the day of its birth. On the other hand, just to respond to a couple of the things you heard, based on what I've read from OB-GYNs, it is actually safer for the mother to deliver after 24 weeks than it is to get an abortion. So in terms of protecting both the mother and the baby's life, having exceptions is not really needed, because you can actually just deliver the baby. And in terms of if the mother can't take care of the baby, New Hampshire has safe haven laws, which allows her to leave that child with the hospital, and the hospital will make sure that the child is cared for.
And Kayla, let's follow up on something that Jason just said there about viability and this sort of 24-week threshold hitting into that second trimester there. The Roe decision was all about viability, of course. Does it not make sense in some way to update the legal framework, the court case, whatever the law is, in accordance with what we now know about fetal development by week 24?
Well, I want to be clear. Jason mentioned something about other states who have abortion bans. And just to be clear, not every abortion ban is the same. And what's particularly cruel about this bill is that it has no exceptions. Even Massachusetts has exceptions for fatal fetal diagnoses. And what we know is that every pregnancy is unique. You can ask any doctor, you can ask anyone who's been pregnant more than once. I myself have been pregnant 3 times, and I can attest to the fact that each of my experiences has been very differently. Not every pregnancy goes according to plan. During this legislative process, we heard from people like Dana. Dana was someone who had a much wanted pregnancy. She had a name picked out. She had a nursery ready. And at 30 weeks, she and her family found out new information, devastating information about her pregnancy. And what New Hampshire is now saying with this abortion ban to women like Dana and Dana's family is that they now have to go out of state, if they can afford it, to get the health care that they need. And, why is New Hampshire, a place with some of the best doctors in the world? Why are we saying that these patients who really are desperate for this critical care, why are we sending them out of state? People in these situations, they should be greeted with compassion and not stigma and shame, which is what this abortion ban does. We know that pregnancy is not one size fits all, and an abortion ban simply does not work for the realities of pregnancy.
Let's circle back to that mandatory ultrasound. Jason, I'm curious, is this an undue burden on a woman if she comes in and does not have enough money to pay for this procedure, which if she's just going to take a medication may not be necessary?
Actually, I just want to respond quickly to something I heard Kayla say, which is that that we have this, we want to keep this reproductive health care in the state of New Hampshire. Being able to kill a baby one day before it's born, I don't consider that to be health care. And I don't think a lot of New Hampshire residents do. That's something that's well outside of healthcare. In terms of the ultrasound mandate, without that, there's no real way to enforce this. If we're going to have a law, we have to be able to enforce that law. And so if we don't have an ultrasound mandate, there's no way for there's no kind of line in the sand where you can say, yes, this baby is 24 weeks or / viable or older in the womb. And so if we get rid of that, then there's no real way that we can enforce this law at all.
Okay,
Besides that, I also want to.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I just also want to throw in there that also this is actually standard practice. A lot of the abortion clinics already do ultrasounds, and so the idea that they are complaining about having to do them for a late-term abortion is kind of nonsensical. These are just standard gelling on the belly type of ultrasounds that happen anyway.
Kayla, I'll let you respond there.
Sure. I just want to say that the language that you're using, Jason, is it's inflammatory and it's not based in science. And it's also designed to shame people. And more importantly, it's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people like Dana, who are dealing with these complicated situations later in pregnancy. And regarding the ultrasound provision, it's simply not best medical practices. At Planned Parenthood of Northern New England, for a first trimester abortion, we are not talking about an over-the-belly ultrasound. We are talking about an invasive internal transvaginal ultrasound. And we know that it is not always necessary. If someone comes in early in pregnancy, if they're looking for medication abortion, which is a safe and effective way to terminate a pregnancy early in pregnancy, an ultrasound may not always be necessary. So why is the New Hampshire legislature dictating medical care when that is just simply not best medical practices? We should be allowing our clinicians to work with our patients in order to do what's best for them.
And Jason, I'll let you respond there to that accusation of inflammatory language.
Sure. We're talking about human rights, and so any conversation that we're going to be having needs to involve every human at the table. So yes, that the person seeking the abortion is a human, but there's also a completely other human whose rights need to be represented at this table. I don't think representing human rights is inflammatory at all.
You want to respond there, Kayla?
Well, I want to say that no one plans for these complicated medical decisions later in pregnancy. There's no playbook on how to deal with this. There's no playbook on how for patients and providers to work to get the care that they need. There's no right answers. And when we use language that's not based in science, and it's inflammatory, it's designed to judge people. And these families, they deserve compassion and support. And this makes it harder for people to come out and tell their story when they're greeted by a society that judges them for just simply getting health care that they need in these really dangerous and complicated situations.
As we hit the home stretch of this interview here, I'm curious for your perspective on the year ahead in 2022. We could see Roe v. Wade repealed. Jason, I'm guessing this is something you would celebrate.
The fundamental purpose of government is to defend human rights. And so rolling back Roe v. Wade to allow the states to actually uphold their central responsibility is definitely a good thing.
And Kayla, what about you?
We are definitely in a crisis moment in our country. By the time that legislatures leave in June, abortion access in this country could look a lot different. We know that abortion could be illegal in up to 26 states. this year. And that is why New Hampshire really has to act now to protect abortion rights in the Granite State. It is something that we have always supported, and we need to make sure that we get it on the books now.
Okay, we've run out of time. We could take this discussion for a lot longer, I think, and I think we'll probably have you both back on later in the year, but we appreciate your time, Kayla Montgomery and Jason Hennessy. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Kayla.
you.
Thank you, Adam.